Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with Taco Night on Mondays or Whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
At Allo, we believe in the exceptional. From extraordinary whole home coverage to super fast speeds, our local teams are always on hand to make sure your service is running at top performance. Let go of lag, banish buffering, and enjoy outstanding service throughout your entire home. We believe in delivering nothing less than exceptional service, so that's exactly what we do. Visit us at allofiber.com to experience the exceptional.
Golfing in 72 degrees and perfect conditions in Nebraska doesn't seem possible in the winter, but it is. Double Eagle Golf is your escape from the bone-chilling cold outside and a reason to keep your clubs out year-round. Book a bay with some friends for a weekend or come by for golf and happy hour on a weekday. Spring leagues begin in February. Get signed up today. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex at West O Street. Online at doubleeagle.golf.
At Union Bank, people don't have your money. Your money has people. First home people, investment people, people who answer the phone and your chats, dream car people, dream retirement people, driving your dream car in your dream retirement people, small business people, credit card people, and all the other people you need. At Union Bank, our people help you do more than you dreamed possible. So stop in and say hello. We can't wait to see you. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric is the call I make when I have a need for plumbing services. Whether it's for my home or office, if I need a repair to a water heater, softener, or even my garbage disposal, I know I can count on Action to help. In one simple call, their amazing customer service team promptly schedules a service call, often getting to my needs within a day. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
The Mill Coffee and Tea inside our 93.7 The Ticket studio is now open 7 days a week. From 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays and 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday and Sundays, you can enjoy burritos, cinnamon rolls, fresh brewed coffee, delicious tea, or even their coffee and cream ale, sold exclusively at the Ticket Mill location. Open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays and 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the weekends, right here at 1040 O Street in downtown Lincoln.
I see the future in our public school classrooms every day. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. I also see how critically important parent and community support is to our students' success. Support your public schools. Get involved. Form a business school partnership or become a school volunteer. Great schools and great communities work hand in hand.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket. Live from the heart of Lincoln, America. Welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in to Ticket Weekends. Harrison, going to be going solo with you all the way up until 12 o'clock. And from there, we'll be right back on track with normal programming. We'll have The Breeze, Derek Pearson, back in town. He'll be joined by Haas, the host as always, for The Breeze. And that'll go from 12 to 1. And then, of course, the Nico Project from 2 to 3 and Bill's Thrills 3 to 4. And then from there on out, just keeps going. Like I said, we got programming pretty much all throughout Sunday now, as well as coffee. So if you want to grab a cup of coffee, meet some of the on-air talent, that'll be pretty much going in and out the doors throughout the entire day here. 1040 O Street, feel free to do so. And again, if you want to put a face to any of the voices throughout these shows, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Allo, channel 961. Again, it's 961. We did get a channel change there. So if you want to watch on Allo, you have Allo all the way across Nebraska. If you got Allo cable, you can turn on 961 and watch 93.7 The Ticket from there. As well as you can join me on the Sartor Heyman text line, 402-464-5685. A few things to dive into here on the solo hour of obviously Monday night, 8 p.m. We will have the college football championship game between Michigan and Washington. You got two undefeated teams, both going in there without any losses, with the elite quarterback and elite running back. You got Michigan with Corum, obviously, for what he's done. He is going to be probably the number one guy they need to slow down. And obviously Michael Penix Jr. for Washington, as well as a star-studded room of wide receivers. So I know a lot of people are looking at that, expecting to see a blowout, or maybe not a blowout, but a game that isn't going to be as entertaining as the semifinal games were. I'm thinking a little differently. I don't think Washington's going to necessarily lay over like most people are thinking they are. But again, I'm not going to start there. I do want to start with Nebraska basketball, as they would fall to Wisconsin yesterday. Not last night. It was actually an earlier game, about a little after 1 o'clock is when it took place here. And Huskers fall 72-88. So that now puts the Nebraska Cornhuskers basketball team at 12-3. Unfortunately, a 2-2 conference record. And then, of course, Wisconsin 11-3, 3-0 in conference, a 21 ranked Wisconsin team at that time. And these are the games that it stings, because I thought that you didn't necessarily play your best ball, but it almost felt like the Creighton game again, in the sense that whatever Wisconsin wanted to put up, it just looked like it was going in. And the team stats will kind of tell you a similar story. The team stats will also tell you Nebraska got out hustled, but it will tell you how well Wisconsin was shooting the ball. So field goal percentage, Nebraska wasn't bad, 49.1%. You'd like to see that a little bit higher, but for the amount of threes they're taking, it's not too bad of a number. Wisconsin shot 55% overall from the floor, and the real killer, Wisconsin, 50% from three at 13-26. If you watch the game, you might have been able to guess that number. Nebraska, not that far behind, though. Nebraska, 46% from three. We were 12 for 26. We only missed one more three than Wisconsin did. So that's what I'm saying. Even though it was a good night of shooting from Wisconsin, arguably Nebraska wasn't that far off. 26 for 53, Wisconsin 33 for 60. So a lot of Wisconsin's points coming off of rebounds, offensive rebounds. Wisconsin 7 to Nebraska's 3. And there's just a few stats that kind of illustrate that Nebraska was in a few ways out hustled. Again, it's a tough road game, but you look at the turnovers. Nebraska coughs over 12 to Wisconsin's 8. They get 17 points off turnovers. Nebraska only gets 12. And then, of course, fast break points. We actually lead that one, but that's not Wisconsin's style, I should say. We had 11 to their 4. Points in the paint. This is the big number. Nebraska, points in the paint, 18. Wisconsin, 36. And that was, if you're looking at it, a big piece of the story for me is Nebraska inside. I know Mass was coming back, trying to get a little bit healthy. But again, with the way they were shooting the ball, it made things difficult. You really didn't want to fully commit. You saw that a lot of times with Brink Mass. They weren't going to send a double down there to go ahead and give Brink Mass some help, because the Wisconsin was just shooting the ball at a ridiculous clip, 50%. So you couldn't afford to send a bunch of double teams down there unless you feel extremely confident in your team's ability to rotate, which Wisconsin, a good team, they're going to be able to make that second pass and make you scramble out of any sort of double situation. So a little bit of felt like your hands were tied, but based off the way they were shooting. But it was a game that hurts, because this is when you, as a fan, can go back and look at that Minnesota game, because now you're sitting here 2-2 in conference play. It's not bad. There is plenty of season left. I still think this Nebraska team is a good one, that despite the loss, I expect them to make the March Madness tournament. Wisconsin's a good team. You're going to have another really good test here in a Purdue squad that's essentially been able to beat anyone at whatever pace they want to play outside of Northwestern. But for the most part, this is a game where you do look at Minnesota, because if you can grab that Minnesota game, you're still sitting above 500 in conference play. You'd be sitting at a 12-2, or excuse me, a 13-2, then a 12-3, which they currently sit. And that's Big Ten basketball. All right. Like, you're probably not going to win out in conference play. To sit here and say we have Indiana, Wisconsin, Purdue, let's go 3-0. You know, where the state of this program is at, that's, as a fan, it seems like a lot to ask for. As a player, I hope you always think you're going to win 1, 2, and 3. But us looking at that realistically, you're feeling really good if you can pick up 2 of those 3. Odds will tell you you're more likely to pick up 1 of the 3. And history would tell you Nebraska is likely to pick up 0 of the 3. But this is a good program. They were able to beat Indiana. They take I don't want to call it a perfect storm game, because I do think there's areas where Nebraska could have been better. But Wisconsin was shooting the ball very well. It felt like you got one of Wisconsin's best shots. I mean, their offense, they hit a season high in 3-pointers when they played Nebraska. Like, they're not going to be able to do that consistently. So you beat a team that's good, but they probably gave you one of their best looks that they're going to give any team throughout the rest of the season. So it's one you got to have. But again, that's why when you look at those Minnesota losses, you can't afford those. You know, this is a program where the Big Ten Conference is tough. We saw that with Northwestern beating Purdue. We saw that with Nebraska beating Michigan State, and then Michigan State bouncing back and taking down a number 6 Baylor team. All right. The Big Ten Conference is strong. So when you do run into a Minnesota, a team that is looked at by most analysts to finish towards the bottom of the Big Ten, this is where the hindsight gets ugly, because you got to have those games. Because now we're looking at this Purdue game. And if you lose this Purdue game as well, the season's not over by any means, but you're losing that momentum again. It feels like every single time Nebraska starts to demand some attention nationally, they crack under the pressure a little bit, right? You beat Indiana by a wide margin. A lot of teams are starting to look at you now. Like, this is a 12-2 Nebraska team that net rankings pretty much across the board is sitting in the top 64, not even flirting with the NAT, but flirting with the actual 64 March Madness bracket. So you get in the spotlight. Then you play a really good Wisconsin team and you fall short. You know, they almost at one point in time were on pace for 120 points. Again, I know they're shooting well from 3, but at some point you got to take some pride in that and just deny them the ball. You see how teams hound Keisei Tamanaga. You know, when you have a team in Wisconsin that's shooting the ball that well, you can't just afford to let Wall go 6 for 10 and completely dominate the game any way he wants to. Obviously, Chucky Hepburn as well, 3 for 5. He was a big piece. They tried to put Sam Hoiberg on him a lot of times to look like to slow it down, but it just wasn't happening. And then, of course, it's one of those things where you look at Chucky Hepburn, and you would love to have him here in Nebraska, but he played well for them. 33 minutes, 13 points, 3 for 5 from the 3-point line. And just about every single one of their players outside of a couple of them was at 50% or above 50% from the 3-point line. And that's kind of that perfect storm that we're talking about. But I still think it's a game where you have to try to shake it out of your system, because no one's going to feel bad for this team. You have another opportunity in Purdue. And listen, I know Purdue's a good team, but we did see Northwestern managed to take down Purdue. It's a tough thing to do, I think, if you're Nebraska. And let me double check here. I believe the game is Tuesday. Yeah, the game's Tuesday for Purdue. And that's actually at the Vault too. So one thing about this Nebraska team is they do play well at home. So this will be an opportunity. You have a Purdue team that is not by any means untouchable. All right. They lost to Northwestern. Northwestern is a good basketball program, not an elite one by most people's standards. Now, they could make a run, but I think when you're thinking of the best, Northwestern doesn't necessarily fit that identity. So I think now you have the opportunity to take down Purdue. Another chance to try to pick up this momentum. You have to, at some point, bring history to a place that's never had it. And when the momentum is shining on Nebraska, one of these games has got to swing our way, not only for the sake of winning conference games and the sake of making the tournament, but it's going to be a hell of a lot easier to get recruits. That if Nebraska, we do face a ranked Creighton, and we do face a ranked Wisconsin, a ranked Purdue, sooner or later, these AP top 25 games, if you want good recruits, you have to prove you are a good program and can take down other elite programs. And it just hasn't been the case for Nebraska. We struggle so bad, it seems, when the moments are bright, and maybe even struggles too strong of a word. You look at the stats, and Nebraska didn't necessarily play bad, just felt like Wisconsin came out hot. The defense, I don't want to say it was poor. I didn't say it was a lack of effort, but it could have just used a little more tightening down of the bolts. Because if you have a team like Wisconsin that's shooting the ball that well, you're going to have to do everything you possibly can to get them uncomfortable. And unfortunately, they were a little too comfortable throughout that entire first half. And I think in the second half, the only argument that I know most fans, if you're on any of the bulletin boards, this is the most frequent opinion, is there's no way they'll shoot this well all game. And that's exactly what they did. They kept their 3-point shooting percentage right at 50% to end the night. So you can't just expect teams to cool down. I think a little bit is on you as a defender. How can we make these guys uncomfortable? Again, you have to look at how teams guard Keisei Tamanaga. He has got the quickest release I've probably seen, I've seen ever for really any Nebraska basketball player. You can try to shoot me another one, but in the Big Ten as a whole right now, he's probably still got the quickest trigger. He's probably got a faster release than most NBA guards do. And you see teams do a pretty good job for the most part outside of Indiana, where Keisei Tamanaga went full out nuclear, where they do a really good job keeping it in front of him, making him really uncomfortable, making those windows as small as they possibly can, and he'll still find a way to get them off, but they greatly reduce his shooting numbers. And I think that's another thing of this Nebraska team. We have to, at one point in time, figure out who can we know that when we play a game, we can look at this guy and expect anywhere between 15 to 25 points. Nebraska doesn't really have a guy like that. You would like it to be Keisei Tamanaga. You would like it to maybe even be Juan Gary, Bryce Williams, take your pick. But it's been winning by committee, which at times can be fantastic. At certain moments, like this is when I talk about games like yesterday when you have Wisconsin, that would have been a game where it would have felt really great just to watch a guy like Keisei Tamanaga take over. You know, a Bryce Williams, even a Rink Mast, where it felt like Rink Mast a few times last night was really calling his number a lot, just trying to get some offensive flow into that game. His shooting numbers weren't the best by his standards, considering how he's played for the whole season. He was 6 for 14. He took a lot of shots, 2 for 7. And again, I think a lot of that was when he saw Wisconsin start to go on these runs. I think Rink Mast was kind of thinking maybe the same thing I'm thinking, is we have to find a way to get this under control. And I think he really was trying to be that guy for him yesterday. And unfortunately, it just wasn't happening. He still had a good game. I know the shooting numbers aren't great, 6 for 14. But still, you grab 6 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, a block, 0 turnovers, which is something I really like. If you're going to take 14 shots and be that integral role of the offense, it's good to see 0 turnovers right next to it. But there's times where it looks like Nebraska is looking around the room for someone to step up, someone to be that elite playmaker, elite scorer, just to give you a possession. And then on the other end, you can go get a stop. But if it's not Keisei Tamanaga, there's times I don't know who it's going to be. And maybe this is a problem that I frequently like to blow up into something bigger than it actually is. But the winning by committee thing is tough for teams to scout, but it's really easy if, you got a team offensively kind of looking around, trying to figure out who's going to take over in this situation where last night Wisconsin's going on a run. Maybe it's not that big of a deal, but they started out the first half so strong. They're already up by 10. Oh, now they're up by 15. We can't afford a heat check from anyone right now. We need a guy that this isn't a heat check. This is a guy that we can just consistently rely on, whether it gets to the free throw line or if he just gets a good wide open look. And we have a few guys like that, but I am curious. I think that's going to shake out here. It seems like Keisei Tamanaga is that clear offensive weapon, but we haven't seen him have a whole lot of games here where he's just gone off like he did to finish last year's season. So I'm still optimistic about this group. I know I'm kind of bagging on it. I don't want to say they don't have any guys. I really want to see what it looks like as it continues to mold. And when we get closer towards the tournament, there's going to be some games here down the line that mean a lot. And just like the NBA, someone typically steps up, and it might be Mast, it might be Tamanaga, it might even be Bryce Williams, and even Sam Hoiberg for that matter. He's had games where he's had a big impact. Maybe it's not offensively, but you could see Hoiberg with a big steal. And I'll give him some credit for that yesterday. Sam Hoiberg, for his size, he had a pretty solid block down there last night as well. And he's the guy that just has a ton of energy. I think the defense should be okay for the most part going forward. I know that Wisconsin game, I would have liked them to try a little harder on that 3-point line to make them more uncomfortable. Because we saw it over and over again. If you were giving them any sort of daylight, they were feeling good at home. So you got to work extra hard on that side of the court just to push them off where they're sitting. So don't ever let it just be a catch and shoot. I don't care if they're 3 feet off the 3-point line. If they're shooting the ball that well, a catch and shoot's going to burn you every time like it did last night. So a few things to nitpick, but this is what happens. If you want to be a good team, you have to be that particular when you're playing a team like Wisconsin. Was the defense bad? No, the defense wasn't horrible. I didn't think the effort was bad. But if you want to beat elite teams, AP ranked top 25 teams, like you're going to have another chance in Purdue, you have to take that personally. You have to be extra committed defensively. You have to just be that little extra step of sharpness, being aware, communicate. Everything's got to be a little bit cleaner. And against Wisconsin, again, I'm not going to say it was bad or anything, but you're going to play a team that, guess what? You knew they could shoot the ball well. This isn't, I know it was a season high for them, but this is a team that has a bunch of good shooters. It was only a matter of time before they had the quote unquote perfect storm game. And guess what? You were the perfect storm game, but there's things you still could have gone to prevent you from entering in the second half, as opposed to just saying, well, there's no way they keep making all these shots. No, we will make sure that they don't keep getting these wide open shots. So it just takes that little bit of extra effort that you need when you are going to start playing this serious competitive level of basketball with great Big Ten teams. And the Big Ten's only going to get better next year. You're going to add UCLA. You're going to add a USC. You're going to add a Washington. You're going to add Oregon. Okay, so this season's going to be as easy as it probably gets in terms of playing Big Ten basketball. You're going to have to really continue to be hungry to get better. So again, this Wisconsin loss, there's a lot of ball left. All right, there's a ton of basketball left this season for this Nebraska team to get back on track. I'm fully confident that they will. Again, I'm picking on this game a lot because it meant a lot. Not because Nebraska played poorly, but because every time the national spotlight is on this team, unfortunately, it hasn't gone in their favor. But you're going to have that opportunity again. I can't stress that enough, that I'm not down on this team, but I do want to see Fred Hoiberg get a ranked win here. It's been a while where you want to go to football, you want to go to basketball, either of those two programs, get a ranked win. That's the hype that people are dying for so badly. No one expects, the Nebraska football team this year to go out and dominate and win the Big Ten as a whole. It would have been great if they can win the Big Ten West or go bowling. Pretty low standards. The basketball team. No one's clamoring for this Nebraska ball team to go out to the March Madness tournament, get a top 5, top 3 seed, and go get to at least the Elite Four, Final Four, or Elite 8, Sweet 16. No one's asking for that. If we're asking for very small things to build up into a culture that is winning basketball, that is winning football. The volleyball program's got to figure it out. The bowling program's got to figure it out. The wrestling program, they've had it figured out for a while. I'm sure a lot of people got to witness the polar bear continue his undefeated stretch by getting a pin against Wyoming yesterday in pretty dramatic fashion too. It was good to see Coach Manning for the Nebraska wrestling team get that much respect for his program. It was a home meet, and for what the program's been for as long as it's been, having a Jordan Burroughs, having a plethora of other elite wrestlers come out of this program, it was good for him to see to get spotlight. But again, that's a program that's done well. As a coach, he's done well. When they get that national spotlight, they do well with it. They run with it. They take it with pride. The football and the basketball program, it's tough to do. I'm still there with Rule. I'm still there with Hoiberg. I think they can get it done, but that's, I think, where a lot of the frustration comes from. This is a program, a Nebraska Power 5 that has a ton of money pumped into athletics. A very high emphasis on the amount of support and money and scholarships we give out to our athletes, and you just want to see some return on it. And I think they can do it this year. But again, I'm going to keep harping that one of these times when you have a AP ranked opponent you're going on the road, you have to start making statement wins to get eyes on Nebraska basketball, to get recruits, to get the March Madness, to get the committee. You want that net ranking, that POM, whatever ranking you want to be in, you have to start winning some of these bigger games. So Nebraska, still plenty of ball left in the season. I know we spent a lot of time on them, but I do think this Wisconsin game was that important. But you still did the first job, right? You beat Indiana, and I think most people, I think pretty much everyone would say if you can win 2 out of the next 3, again, starting with that Indiana 2 on the road, Wisconsin 2 back at home versus Purdue, 2 of 3 is fantastic. So if you can find a way to knock off an elite Purdue team, is Zach Edey that, despite not playing necessarily great in their last game, not by bad shots, but just foul trouble, they still dominated. So even with Zach Edey in foul trouble, Purdue will find ways to dominate games. It'll be interesting. We'll talk about some of the keys to victory against Purdue, and that'll be Tuesday, as well as some college football. We might even sneak in some Husker football recruiting news as well, as it's been pretty good news for Matt Rule and staff and company and Dylan Raiola. You do wonder if having 2 Elite 11 QBs, the number 1 quarterback in the country, and Dylan Raiola, is doing a lot of favors for Husker football in this nice little recruiting run that they've been on. So plenty of things here to talk about as we got a full slate of ticket weekend content for you here on this Sunday. And again, it's going to go all the way up until 11 p.m. will be the last show. So plenty of things to join. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Allo channel 961. Again, that's 961, no longer 951, all across Nebraska. As long as I have Allo cable, you can always watch the ticket on Allo. But again, be sure to tune in anytime you want. 402-464-5685. We do have Notorious B.I.B. He points out a very good note. Don't forget about the FCS title game coming on today at 1 on ABC. Go Jacks. So again, you can always check out that as well. But we'll throw it to break here on the Ticket Weekends, going solo with Harrison Arens. Don't go anywhere. I'll be right back.
At Allo, we believe in the exceptional. From extraordinary whole home coverage to super fast speeds, our local teams are always on hand to make sure your service is running at top performance. Let go of lag, banish buffering, and enjoy outstanding service throughout your entire home. We believe in delivering nothing less than exceptional service, so that's exactly what we do. Visit us at allofiber.com to experience the exceptional.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
Orthopedic and plastic surgery. Our team of top-notch medical professionals turns pain into progress with state-of-the-art treatments and compassionate care. Visit prairieortho.com and discover the difference in quality orthopedic and plastic surgery services tailored to your unique needs. Your health matters, and Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery is dedicated to helping you thrive. Reach your full potential. Embrace a better tomorrow with Prairie Orthopedic and Plastic Surgery.
Unearth the secret to long-lasting tires at Tread's Central Tire Pros, a league apart in commitment, service, and expertise. This isn't just about rubber meeting the road, but trust, safety, and surety converging in perfect harmony. This is where expectations are exceeded every time. Make your appointment today at Tread's Central Tire Pros, just south of Cortland on Highway 77, or visit our website to explore our services. Remember, when it comes to tires, choose Tread's Central Tire Pros because we tread differently.
Plains Cover Crop is your one-stop seed shop. Call us now for spring and summer forages, CRP mixes, and fall cover crop blends. We do farm-specific consulting for practical and efficient seed blends to fit your geography and goals. With a very diverse inventory, we will tailor a blend just for you. We're also looking for contract growers, and we buy and sell rye. Find us online at plainscovercrop.com. Timeless agronomy practices paired with modern technology. East Highway 20 in Orchard and across Nebraska.
Is your furnace or heat pump ready for winter? Call Bryant to schedule your home heating check. Comfortable, safe, efficient. Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing. 467-1111.
Integrated Life Choices has been inspiring opportunities for individuals with disabilities for more than 15 years in Lincoln and across Nebraska by offering a number of services. From group homes to independent living resources and job training, you'll find the support that allows people to live fulfilling lives. They're also hiring. If you're looking for a rewarding career supporting people with developmental disabilities, you can check out open positions along with learning more about services at ilc.net. Integrated Life Choices.
Dance like a dad. It's a great way to make a moment with your kids.
First, I hold my hands out like they're on a steering wheel. Then I look over my shoulder. Next, I put it in reverse. Beep, beep, beep.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People City Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, when we all do a little, we change a lot.
Golfing in 72 degrees and perfect conditions in Nebraska doesn't seem possible in the winter, but it is. Double Eagle Golf is your escape from the bone-chilling cold outside and a reason to keep your clubs out year-round. Book a bay with some friends for a weekend or come by for golf and happy hour on a weekday. Spring leagues begin in February. Get signed up today. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex at West O Street. Online at doubleeagle.golf.
Not many businesses can say they've made it 60 years, but Madsen's Bowling and Billiards can. With 12 bowling lanes and the biggest pool room in Nebraska, where else would you go to enjoy an afternoon or evening? There's a great daily specials like $2 Tuesdays, games of bowling, shoe rentals, draft beers, and tacos, all just $2 each. Have a delicious burger at EJ's Lounge before or after your bowling or pool session, and you'll leave satisfied. Madsen's Bowling and Billiards at 47th and Dudley.
This is Rick Heyman from Sartor Heyman Jewelers, inviting you to our new outlet jewelry store at 12th and O in downtown Lincoln. Amazingly, we still have fabulous items we bought 1 year ago and beyond. Well, you know what an outlet store is. Unbeatable prices throughout the store. Closeouts up to 70% off. Don't delay. When it's gone, it's gone. You won't see everything on our website, so you gotta come in. The Outlet by Sartor Heyman, where luxury and affordability meet. Opening November 25th in Lincoln at 12th and O.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weekends. Harrison Arens on the board, going solo all the way up until 12 o'clock. This is the only change up in the schedule for today, because at 12 o'clock, we'll be right back in tune with the breeze. It'll be DP. He's back before he hits back on the road. I know he's got some UFC events and wrestling events coming up, but he'll be there with me and Haas. We'll go from 12 to 1. 1 to 2 Nico project as always. And then from there, as I said before, continued Sunday programming. If you're ever curious what that looks like, I'd highly recommend just going to YouTube, going to the website. You can check out all the shows there. Lots of good ones, lots of sports shows, Husker Rewind to get updated on everything, as well as some just local Lincoln shows to figure out some good organizations that are going on, just local around here. And then, of course, Ricky C. Simmons, one of our more popular ones towards the end of the day. He gets everyone in here from former friends, former players, local event members, whatever may be going on, and just plenty of great stories, a lot more, less sports, just day-to-day life stuff. So again, plenty of stuff there. Go to YouTube, check out the full schedule. But with this being my hour, we're going to continue to focus on a little bit more some NBA, and some NFL as well. And real quick, just to give everyone some updates here on some of these players here, just so we're all on the right page, right? So Dante Dowdell, he is from Oregon. He is a transfer in the crystal ball projection, Nebraska 100%. He will be heading to Nebraska. So running back position, 6'2", 215, a 4-star athlete. I know a lot of Oregon fans are pretty sad to see him go. So it gives you one of those things where it feels good if the other fan base is feeling pretty bad about watching them hit the door. So it looks like they got a good one in there. I'd imagine it's still Emmett Johnson as one of the front runners, but you add some more talent in there. It's the whole argument of iron sharpens iron. It's not a very unique perspective. It's the same reason why a lot of people feel great about having 2 elite 11 QBs out of the 2024 class, right? So you add some serious talent there. And Dante Dowdell for Nebraska, 4-star running back from out of Oregon. And then, of course, the 2 elite 11 quarterbacks. And then for anyone who's watching, Carter Nelson yesterday played fantastic. He was everything that he was promised to be. He had physicality. From 8-man to 11-man, you didn't know any difference. He was fast, physical, great hands, run after the catch. It's going to be interesting to see how Nebraska uses him going forward. And if they can bring him in right away, he maybe isn't that great blocker right off the bat. Although I think yesterday might have surprised a lot of people seeing how strong he was physically. Because I think people get that perception a little bit. It's like, oh, you're playing 8-man. How big are these schools? How big are the guys you're really going against? Well, Carter Nelson did it yesterday too, and it didn't faze him at all. So he might be able to get into the mix faster than what most fans expect. Maybe not in a traditional role, but he's such an athlete. You can theoretically move him around a lot on offense and try to figure out unique ways to get him the ball. So you got 2 young quarterbacks, an elite tight end, or I should say 3 young elite players and 2 young quarterbacks, an elite tight end. You're adding some depth there in the running back through an Oregon transfer. You got most of your own line back. You're bringing back pretty much your entire, well, I shouldn't say, a lot of your defensive line back in Ty Robinson and Nash Hutmacher, who, shout out to him, who had a great win in Nebraska wrestling. We talked about that a little bit in the first segment, but you're seeing these pieces for Nebraska start to really add up. Now, we've been here before. We've been here with high numbers in the recruiting composite rankings with a 247 on 3. We've been there with the high composite rankings in the portal. Whether website you want to go to, it's about the development now. Okay, we've been in this situation how many times? Most Nebraska fans can jokingly remember how many times Nebraska's won the offseason. This isn't no different. All right, we've done it again. Everyone, we can pat ourselves on the back, at least for now. The way it's headed, we're winning the offseason. The important thing here is going to be the continued development. I don't want to see another quarterback situation like we saw with Adrian Martinez. Adrian Martinez's best year was his first year. That should never be the case for any Power 5 quarterback unless injuries play a major factor. Adrian, yes, injuries played a factor, but it just felt like the system in place, the development in place, never served him best. And that's what I don't want to see with this Nebraska roster. All right, you have 5 4-star pieces in the room. You're not Alabama. You're not Georgia. You don't have 4 or 5 5-stars underneath those guys, but your top elite performers, I shouldn't say performers, your top elite skill players, you got a bunch of stars on the board. Now it's up to you to develop these guys and actually get it into a system where, I think with the talent in the room now, you better expect bowling. And B, once you do hit that mark, you have to continue to grow. I think it's been the most frustrating part for most Nebraska football fans, whether you want to talk about the offensive line, whether you want to talk about the quarterback play. Those 2 groups right there in particular seem to have the least room for development in terms of you looking at the past 10 years of Nebraska football. The quarterback room has been pretty abysmal. It just really has been, in terms of injuries have not helped, but I think development's probably the bigger one out of everything. How have we not had an opportunity to set any of these quarterbacks in a situation where at the bare minimum, just be a decent game manager? We, especially with the Big Ten West, I know it's dissolved now and it's all over pretty much for the West East. And most of these conferences are going to dissolve a lot of those arbitrary divisions, I should say, especially when you look at where they're at geographically. The divisions never made a whole lot of sense.
but you were never asking for a ton there. You just needed a quarterback that could manage the game, not turn it over a bunch, and you would be able to find yourself winning some Big Ten West football games. But it's been so bad for Nebraska that a game manager hasn't even been a possibility. Instead, the rest of the team isn't built to the point where you can just have a game manager. So, hey, Adrian, why don't you go ahead and lead the team in rushing yards, in touchdowns, in air yards? It looked a lot like it did this season with Heinrich Haarberg. All right, the players around him this year, yes, it's a little more indicative on the injuries that took place, but you were in another year where you're looking at Heinrich Haarberg and you're like, hey, you need to cover all the deficiencies that this offense has through your legs, and we'll try to get you a few easy ones on some quick slants, on some drags from the tight end, and we'll set up a deep shot from here to here, a scripted deep shot. But they were relying on him a lot to really carry a massive load for that offense. Now you have some guys, you got two, again, I can't stress enough, 2 Elite 11 QBs, not to have one, but 2 of them, because I think Daniel Kalen, I do not want to do any discredit to him, because I think he will be a big part, whether he plays or if he helps develop the other guys in the room. Daniel Kalen isn't looking to sit on the bench. So he's going to be a guy hungry for the job. That's going to spark a real competition. So you got to get those guys in there, and you just want to see that consistent development. So that's why it is big to get there. You don't want Daniel Kalen or Dylan Raiola to enter into the football season thinking, oh, I got to cover up for X, Y, and Z. You want them to be able to trust their counterparts, whether it's the offensive linemen, who I will say with Donovan Raiola, I think that's been a pleasant surprise. I know a lot of people were hard on the offensive line through years past, and rightfully so at times. I think there's plenty of times you could point to some pretty bad offensive line play. Where the blame comes in is another story. I think switching the head coach, I shouldn't say head coach, switching the offensive line coach numerous times throughout the Riley to Frost to now Rule era, that's one thing I give Rule credit for, was hanging on to Coach Raiola despite the comments that were being said. I know that was a lot of people's most unfavorite rehire was Raiola. But I'll tell you what, that line played a lot better than I expected to. You're going to have another year back with them. You're going to have a lot of juniors and seniors again up front on that line. So Kalen, Raiola, Haarberg, whoever they are during the spring, during the fall, when they're getting those workouts in, they should be able to get up to speed. All right. You have some real veterans in there at the offensive line. You have some running backs in the room now as well, and some wide receivers. I know some of these guys are going to be transfers, so that's going to be interesting as well. How does this transfer portal shake out, particularly for the wide receivers? Because I think most people are going to look at this Nebraska football team and say, what are we lacking? A, it's probably wide receivers, and B, maybe that's when there's a little bit of argument. Running backs, offensive line, even though offensive line, I think we have some good depth there. It never hurts. The more blue chip linemen you can find and grab, as we've seen with most of the dominant, successful schools, if you see a guy that can block, you're going to go ahead and do everything you can to go ahead and try and grab him. So really, to me, it's you got to get wide receivers, and then the running back thing. We just got Dante Dowdell out of Oregon, so that helps a lot there. So you're already covering a lot of the groups that I thought we needed. Now it comes time for development. The one thing Nebraska football through since I got down here in 2018, before I got down here in 2018, it's really been struggling. I don't see players hit that next curve. And I think that's why we saw a lot of players transfer out and some of the prior coaching staffs. I don't know if a lot of guys felt comfortable with the development, the pace that they were at with this Rule staff as it is. I know it's just the first year, but we aren't seeing a lot of players hit the portal. That gives me some faith that the communication between the coaching staff and the players, it has to reasonably be solid. If you're seeing a lack of players hit the portal, that means there's some pretty good communication there, that these players are understanding what they're being told, what they're being sold. And then when they do buy in, they're not hitting the portal because evidently what they were being told and sold was very clear to them. So obviously there's going to be circumstances. You're not going to be able to keep everyone, but we're not seeing major key guys hit the portal, which makes you feel pretty good about the program here in Nebraska. But it's going to be interesting. We talked about it a little bit with basketball, how the conference is only going to get tougher. The Big Ten West is going to be dissolved. And I think the Big Ten West arguably was one of the weakest Power 5 divisions. The Big Ten as a whole, no. The Big Ten West, that was a interesting picture for a long part in history. And I think most of the Big Ten will be happy. Everyone but the Big Ten West teams will be happy that's being dissolved, because that was a situation where if Nebraska could have just found a way to get its footing a little earlier, there's no reason that Iowa dominated the Big Ten West the way they did. All right, we just saw them get the doors blown off by Tennessee in their bowl game. They put up 0 points. The defense didn't even step up to the way you thought. They gave up 35. It was 35-0. That's the team that's been dominating the Big Ten West. That's what hurts, right? That's why as Nebraska fans, that's why people get upset. How does a team that can't score a single point against Tennessee, and that is hailed on their special teams and defense, but still gives up 35? All right, the conference was never that elite. You give credit to Iowa, as sick as it might make you, for finding a way to Big Ten West football games, but you have to start winning. The conference is going to get tougher. There's no more Big Ten West easy schedule. Yes, the schedule this year was a definitely easier schedule than years past. I'm still with Matt Rule, but you should have found a way to make a bowl game. The quarterback room, I know it's tough, but that's the development. How many game managers have we seen go through the Big Ten West and do really well? Not through crazy numbers, but just through doing enough low turnover numbers and getting just enough yards to get a win. That's something Nebraska football just hasn't been able to figure out. They had 4 opportunities to down the stretch, and they weren't able to get it done. I think there was some coaching errors in there. I'm still sold on Matt Rule as of now. I'm not saying he needs to go anywhere, but there is going to be a time where this conference is only going to get tougher. It would have been great if you could have hit the road a little faster this year, gone to a bowl game, get that out of the system. But nonetheless, you're going to have another shot next year in a tougher conference. We do have a text here from Brad, and this is a great point. Brad says, remember when Omar Manning was the next Randy Moss? Fantastic point, because you got to get ready. And as I'm speaking here, we just had Dylan Raiola pass by the 1040 Ticket Studio. So he's out and about. If you guys are curious where he's at, he just walked by the windows here at the 1040 Ticket Studio. So as I'm saying, though, as we're talking about these young guys, the prowess that they have, you really, really want them to continue to develop. All right. I don't expect Dylan Raiola or Kalen to just be these perfect quarterbacks to play in a system with 0 errors. There probably will be growing pains. It's up to Nebraska to develop them and correct those small growing pains, and just buckle down and get to work. And it's unfortunately something for a lot of these players that it just hasn't happened. Whether it was Mike Riley or Scott Frost, it felt like the best players were coming out of the portal. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you want the best players to be guys you developed. You just want the portal to be additional pieces to add on as a cherry on top, not the end all be all of where this team's going to be in the next few years. And that's where, when you're grabbing quarterbacks out of the portal, it can be really great or it can be a nightmare. Wisconsin, they grabbed every damn quarterback out of the portal, it felt like last year. And Mordecai, not necessarily the expected guy, but he ended up being the quarterback for them. When it comes to Nebraska, you don't want to have to go through the portal to try to figure out who your next guy is going to be. It's got to be development. And I do think Matt Rule's good at development. He did it at Temple. He did it at Baylor. And I think he's doing it here at Nebraska. So it should be exciting. I'm excited. Obviously, the wave of Husker news in terms of players projected to go to Nebraska, or guys like Dante have already done so, adds a lot to what this next year could possibly be for Nebraska. As more chips continue to fall into the right places, you still have to play the games and you still have to win them, but you feel pretty good about where you're at right now in terms of the offseason. With that being said, we do got to go ahead and throw it to break here. Harrison Arens going solo on Ticket Weekends all the way up until noon, and from noon we'll have the breeze as scheduled as always. So don't go anywhere. I'll be right back after the break.
What do you think of when you hear the chocolate season? Artisan chocolates? Of course, they have the best chocolates this side of the Atlantic. Friendly neighborhood coffee shop? Yup, they're that too. A nationally recognized top-tier brunch spot. Waffle weekends, baby. And the place to grab a gift for literally any occasion? Everybody loves chocolate. See for yourself at the Chocolate Season, 40th and Old Cheney, or order ahead online at thechocolateseason.com.
At Allo, we believe in the exceptional. From extraordinary whole home coverage to super fast speeds, our local teams are always on hand to make sure your service is running at top performance. Let go of lag, banish buffering, and enjoy outstanding service throughout your entire home. We believe in delivering nothing less than exceptional service, so that's exactly what we do. Visit us at allofiber.com to experience the exceptional.
Golfing in 72 degrees and perfect conditions in Nebraska doesn't seem possible in the winter, but it is. Double Eagle Golf is your escape from the bone-chilling cold outside and a reason to keep your clubs out year-round. Book a bay with some friends for a weekend or come by for golf and happy hour on a weekday. Spring leagues begin in February. Get signed up today. That's all at Double Eagle Golf inside the Kinetic Sports Complex at West O Street. Online at doubleeagle.golf.
Ready to make this season unforgettable? Celebrate with Liberty First Credit Union's low-rate debt consolidation loan. Combine all those bills into one affordable monthly payment with quick access to funds. Imagine all the extra cash for holiday shopping sprees, festive parties, or that well-deserved vacation. Stop by any of their branches or visit libertyfirstcu.com to find out more about their low-rate debt consolidation loan. Make this holiday season one to remember and celebrate with Liberty First Credit Union, banking with purpose.
If you're in Seward or Milford, listen up. Select Plumbing is now servicing your area with no trip charges from Lincoln. Select Plumbing works on a variety of issues for your home and business, including general plumbing, water heaters, faucet and fixture repair, underground sewer and water repairs, backflow testing, and more. Keep your property free from leaks and other issues. Call today for a free estimate, 402-560-6197. It's not just Lincoln, Waverly, and the surrounding area anymore. It's also Seward and Milford with no trip charges. Contact Select Plumbing to inquire at 402-560-6197.
Not many businesses can say they've made it 60 years, but Madsen's Bowling and Billiards can. With 12 bowling lanes and the biggest pool room in Nebraska, where else would you go to enjoy an afternoon or evening? There's a great daily specials like $2 Tuesdays, games of bowling, shoe rentals, draft beers, and tacos, all just $2 each. Have a delicious burger at EJ's Lounge before or after your bowling or pool session, and you'll leave satisfied. Madsen's Bowling and Billiards at 47th and Dudley.
It's phishing season. Bad actors are trolling your business emails, luring you and your employees to take the bait and steal your private information. Make sure your cybersecurity keeps your business from being the catch of the day. At Hamilton, cybersecurity is our business. We are experts at keeping your network and business information secure and off the hook. Contact Hamilton for a vulnerability assessment today. Hire your local experts. Hire Hamilton at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
A lot of work goes into making Nebraska, Nebraska. Keeping it green. Helping it thrive. Making it fun. Everything that goes into caring for our outdoors, from waters to wildlife, plays a big role in making Nebraska home. Learn how we help conserve our state's natural resources at outdoornebraska.org.
Paid for by Nebraska Game and Parks. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
The Mill Coffee and Tea inside our 93.7 The Ticket studio is now open 7 days a week. From 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays and 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Saturday and Sundays, you can enjoy burritos, cinnamon rolls, fresh brewed coffee, delicious tea, or even their coffee and cream ale. Sold exclusively at the Ticket Mill location. Open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on weekdays and 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the weekends. Right here at 1040 O Street in downtown Lincoln.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in to Ticket Weeknights, or excuse me, Ticket Weekends. I'm Harrison Arens.
You get used to it, don't you?
Yeah, it's a bit of a tongue twister for me. It's like I switch it up on one day and Sundays only, but it's a good day to do so because anyone who's listened to Sunday shows, they've realized that we have great content that starts from 7 a.m., runs all the way to 11 p.m. It's a day of full, solid Ticket content. But for this segment, I got the boss man, DP, joining me in studio. Plenty of things to talk about. We're going to have the Breeze up next as well with the very own Hosta Breezy, who did have a TED Talk not too long ago. Feel free to check that out.
Yeah, it was just released, so they have to confirm it, right, to make sure that all the details, all the facts of it are in, all the stats are right. that the audio is right, and that it checks all their boxes. Because sometimes, you can say you're going to do a TED Talk on a thing and that you've done the work, and then you get up there and it's terrible. And let me tell you, 40% of TEDs that are recorded don't get shared.
I believe that, because when you go through the TED Talk YouTube, they don't post them all.
No, they do not.
Otherwise, it'd be our events max.
Oh, they do not. Well, they don't post them all. Sometimes it's because the content doesn't match. 2, the person didn't deliver. 3, the science behind it didn't check out. Or it could be a ton of things, like bad crowd. Somebody wore the wrong outfit. Like there's a ton of things that you have to do. It is the most. Let me tell you. Delivering the first TED was more stressful than buying a radio station. And buying the radio station is literally the most stressful thing ever, because they check so much of your detail.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, when you talk, like, what have you done? What were you doing 7 years ago? Let me see your finances from 7 years ago. What were that sort of deal. But to go through that and to realize you're out there to create a moment that's going to be forever. And so for Haas to go through it, he went through the training. The training wasn't easy. I can tell you. How
long is it? Because you had to go through it. Because you've spoke twice or 3 times.
Yeah, I've given 2. I've been asked to do 11 TED. Ted was like, no, stop asking him. We'll let him give him one more. I was gonna do the one that Haas did, because So I'm a curator. I'm a TED master. So I actually create TED speakers. But because I know that TED knows that I will check all the boxes. Right. That I'm never going to pick the wrong person. Like, I say no to people all the time. And it costs money. Like, it costs money to go through. Like, I'm not going to donate 9 months to a year of my time and then have you just kind of half tail it through. Doesn't work that way. Then you've got to come up with an idea that's original. It has to be yours. You have to have some relevancy in that space, and then finding the place to do it. So it took Haas 10 months.
Yeah.
Which is still pretty good. Because they're 92% of people who apply for TED get told no.
So he's an 8%er.
He's actually a 1%er, because
his got picked too to go on YouTube.
Right. So when you get the one, you're one of one, and then it's pretty cool to watch, to go through it. Of course, here's the thing that I don't know if you've listened to it or not, but Haas actually gives a shout out to the station.
Yeah.
Which the TED people are like, okay, did you tell him to do that? I'm like, no, he did that on his own. So it's a pretty cool deal. We'll share the link again today so folks can get into it. But there's lots going on. There's so much to talk about. I went to the wrestling match yesterday, and Nash Hutmaker makes his wrestling debut at Nebraska.
Yeah.
And as much as we talk wrestling, right, and we talk UFC, we talk about pop, right? And I'm putting up air quotes for people not on the stream. Talk about pop, which is the sound a building or space makes when somebody enters it.
He had the pop factor.
And this was some CM Punk returns. This is some The Rock returns pop.
It was an undefeated returner too.
Right,
Champion of champions.
Like, he's remarkable in this space. But that was high school. And there are a lot of high school dudes who are, undefeated states, and then they get to college and, oh boy.
It's different level.
Well, because it's everybody's Nash Huck. It's the entire country's Nash Huckmaker that you're facing. You're facing somebody's dude.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody's heavyweight dude. And for him to go out to, listen, Mark Manning, shout out to Mark Manning. He set me up. So I'm literally across from the PA now. So I'm front row on the mat. Like, when they fall off the mat, they're falling into me. When they go out of bounds, I'm there, and Nash rolls this guy. There was a moment where the people who were sitting in that row, we all recognized there was a moment that the dude from Wyoming recognized, oh man, I don't want to be here.
That was my favorite part. That was my favorite part.
There was a look on his face up close, and that's a big part. Like sitting down there, as you get to see the facial expressions. It went from, okay, this is my moment to be great, right? I get to ruin, 2,500 people's day, right? I get to ruin this thing. Of course, a large portion of the football team was there, and the place was going crazy. So when Nash took him down, and then Nash leaned on him, and the look on this dude's face was, I'm actually wrestling a polar bear. Like what? Like he's looking at his team like, what am I supposed to do? This is a dude. Like this is
a grown man.
This is a grown man.
And he dropped 40 pounds on how long?
He dropped. and I guarantee you he dropped more than that.
Oh, it's just insane. And that's what's most impressive is like he didn't just go out and like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be part of the wrestling team. He's like, no, I'm gonna be all in on this.
They listed him in season at 331.
Mm-hmm.
He made sure that he didn't go up to 350, but I guarantee you he was not 331.
Mm-hmm.
And to get down to 285 on time, plus he had to beat the heavyweights they already had on the roster to be in the meet. Yeah. Yeah,
different.
So Friday's Iowa at Devaney Center. And I'm just telling you, get your tickets now. Get your tickets now. Nebraska was ranked number 4, 3 or 4, depending on the poll in the country.
Yeah, it's like Penn State, Iowa,
yeah,
and a hodgepodge.
It's Big Ten, not Big Ten, Big Ten, Big Ten, not Big Ten, Big Ten, Big Ten. And they've got 7 wrestlers in the top 20. Like that's how good it is. So again, if you haven't been to Devaney and you haven't been lately, I would dare imagine that Polar Bear wrestles Friday night.
I might have to get some tickets Friday. I might know someone to talk to about that.
Yeah, I would make plans for that.
With that being said, we'll go ahead and wrap it up here. Don't go anywhere, though, because we do have the Breeze. As always, we'll talk to Haas, see how his last TED Talk went, and get some updates from him as well. So don't go anywhere. Plenty ahead here on Ticket Weekends.